Hey guys, welcome back to Buff's Vintage Bikes. So, something a little different for a change. The restoration of a track bike frame. As you can see, this frame is branded as a Cosmos, which is a South African built bike in the 70s and 80s. But it's clearly not. It's a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing. The bike is actually a Francesco Moser. I'm guessing the rider at some stage in his career was sponsored by Cosmos, so he had the bike or the frame resprayed. But the lugwork gives it away. You can see the typical M's in the top tube and the seat tube lugs. And then of course on the seat stays the Moser scripting. It's got a lovely Moser pantoed chrome fork as well. Sadly the fork needs a little bit of work, so I'll send that off to the chromers for re-chroming. And I'm going to do my best to do a Francesco Moser frame justice and take this through a full respray. So stick around with me and enjoy the video. In the name of saving a few rand, I've decided to use a paint stripper on this bike instead of sending the frame for blasting. But I won't bore you with this full process. Let's just make a start on it. See how it goes. I might get halfway through and change my mind. A couple of hours later and you're sitting with a frame that looks like that. Now it's into the sandpaper and get this back to shiny metal before we put some primer on it. Just to show you on this down tube, when you are now hitting this with sandpaper, these rust spots, you need to get all of this out. If you decide to use paint stripper instead of using blasting, all these spots where you got rust creep, you need to get rid of all of this. Either that or you actually have to treat it with a rust converter. But the whole frame has got these little spider webs on it. There's some more up the seat stays as well. All of this needs to get cleaned down to bare metal. So it must basically look like a new frame that you're starting over from. So that rust creep had me a little bit bothered. I decided to take the frame in for blasting, so I had a nice clean surface to work with. And this is what it's looking like now. So now the creep isn't nearly as bad. The spots that I thought were bad, you can see some really slight marks on the frame here. But when I apply the filler, I'll just use a slightly thicker, not filler, sorry, the primer. I'll go for a slightly thicker primer. It'll cover that up, and when I flat it back, you're not going to see any of that. So now on to primer. Right, so back in the workshop. 800 grit water paper, spray bottle, give it a spray and get rubbing. Get rid of all that orange peel if you've got any, and give a nice binding surface for the airbrush work, and then the next layer of clear coat that's going to go over that. So what we're trying to achieve here is to get this layer, that orange peel look to it, to look like that. A uniform flat layer. So if you've laid enough clear coat on, you can sand it down until you get it nice and uniform. Then when you apply your final layer of clear coat, you're going to get a very glossy looking finish to it. So after a little bit more sanding, that's the look I'm going for. Nice and uniform.